All right, I've activated it and I'm waiting for it to be on my screen. It says
Okay,
excellent, and we are live.
we are live. All right.
All right,
Um,
I've activated
I
it
want
and
to
I'm
welcome you
waiting
all
for it
to
to
our
be on my
Board of
screen.
Directors meeting, a special
It
meeting
says
that was
excellent,
called a month
and we are
ago
live.
to discuss a few
We are live.
items
All right.
that
All
are
right,
either
I've
left over
activated
I
it
want
and
to
I'm
welcome you
waiting
all
for it
to
from
to
our
be
the
on my
Board of
annual
Directors
screen.
meeting
meeting, a
or
special
It
items
says
meeting
that
that
have
was
come up
excellent.
called
since that
a
were
month
of
ago.
timely nature that we needed to address. Um, I want to welcome our membership who is viewing this on YouTube via live stream of this Teams meeting. This is a historic Board of Directors, ADGA Board of Directors meeting. It's the first time we have ever streamed a Board of Directors meeting to our membership. Um, I want the members to know that these 30 directors that are sitting here are here to represent you guys. Um, all this volunteer work. It's not often seen by the membership, so it's great that the members can actually sit in and watch this meeting. This meeting is not intended to be a marathon meeting. Hopefully we can get through the items that we need to in a relatively short amount of time. But these are important items that the membership has the right to see the presentations and see the deliberation on that we have. So we welcome you via YouTube, and we hope that this is a good experience for all of our membership and for our directors alike. With that, last year our board of directors passed a postal ballot 2425-2, which allowed for the electronic capture of minutes. The minutes are being transcribed by the Microsoft Teams application, which is what we are holding this meeting on. That transcript is being recorded as we are speaking. Both a video audio recording is being made and being transcribed. The meeting format and agenda will be adopted by the board here in just a moment, but there's also some AI notes that are being taken. Those AI notes are not the official transcript. That is just an additional function that this program has, uh, which kind of summarizes some of the discussion, but it's not a full transcript. The full transcript is being created by the program. With that, I have an agenda that's been shared there on the screen. I'm going to stop sharing that and bring up a separate document. The rules or the format and guidelines for this meeting were adopted by the executive committee, were passed by the executive committee by a unanimous 5-0 vote. I am sharing that now. The format of this meeting will be held by Microsoft Teams, be recorded and transcribed by the software in accordance with the postal ballot that I just referenced. That transcript will become the official minutes of the meeting for the association for this board meeting. The meeting was also being live streamed rather on YouTube, and hopefully at some point during the meeting we'll get a report back from our communication specialist how many members are joining us and viewing this live stream. As the document that's on the screen here is the official motion for the format and guidelines. It also includes the agenda. I'm going to scroll down and then I'll come back up. The agenda is the items that were in the meeting call that was sent out on November 19th. We have a proposal from the National Sales Committee regarding the Spotlight and Colorama sales. The proposal for the 2027 ADGA National Show from the National Show Long Range Committee. There's a administrative rule proposal from the executive committee concerning Buck Show wins. Those three items are business items that will be presented, discussed, or debated and voted on. The fourth item is the Government Modernization Task Force Redistricting proposal. That item is going to be presented for information only for the membership that's viewing via YouTube and for the directors. The discussion on this item and any business action on this item will
Hey,
take
Jason.
place at a
Do you want to pull 2 of those
board
bread
meeting
boats
that will be
out?
scheduled in conjunction with the
Those bread boats
mid-year
from
executive committee meeting on January 24th. Scrolling back up here, the way this meeting is going to work, the proposal calls for each proposal to be presented by the presenter, after which will be opened up for discussion for the board. The directors will have up to 5 minutes each to speak. You don't have to use the 5 minutes. You don't even have to speak if you don't want to. Just like a regular board meeting, those that have something to say will speak. Those that don't can just listen and vote. After everybody's had that opportunity to speak in agreement with Robert's Rules of Order, then a second round, if people so wish to have a rebuttal or a response, can have up to 1 minute. If we do go through things like amending the motions or different secondary motions, we're going to try to limit those discussions to 1 minute per director on that. The directors will be able to raise their hand to be recognized, and they will be called on in the order that they request by raising their hands. The voting for each proposal will take place by roll call. First Vice President Duong is going to assist with that. When we call for a vote, we'll go through the list, regular roll call out the director's name. You can respond yes or no. That will be recorded and the roll call vote will be given. Totals will be given at the end of the vote. I see, before I ask for unanimous consent on this, I'm going to call on Director Cox. You have your hand up.
Are you going to take a roll call before you start, or what was your plan for?
Yes.
Is that on the agenda?
That is on the agenda, yes. And I have it sitting right here. So I appreciate that. I was just making sure we had everybody. So let's go ahead and do that roll call now. Before I do that, what we're going to do also, the microphones are going to default to off. So make sure you know where your microphone button is so you can unmute yourself and respond when you're called on. So I confirmed everybody's currently on mute, and except for, it looks like Director Cassette just unmuted himself. So go ahead and proceed with a roll call. Director Cassette.
Here.
Director Cox.
Here.
Director Todd Biddle.
Present.
Director Fleming.
Here.
Director Schneider.
Here.
Director Bailey.
Here.
Director Grossman. Is Director Grossman with us? I did not see him on the list of attendees. The mark Director Grossman absent. Director Grossman, if you're with us, please chime in at some point. Director Hitch. Director Hitch, you're muted.
Here.
All
My
right.
apologies.
Director Noble.
Here.
Director Owen. Director Owen, are you with us? See you on the list, but you're muted. Okay. I'm going to come back to you, Chris. Director Smith.
Here.
Director Blosser. Director Blosser, did you respond? Cannot hear Director Blosser. Okay. Director Cockburn.
Present.
Director Jodlowski.
Here.
Director Mathis.
Here.
Director Snipke.
Here.
Director Thompson Hadjic.
Here.
Director Dorsey.
I'm here.
Director Strota.
I'm here.
Director Warren Hughes.
Here.
Director Losi. Director Rossell.
Here.
Director Van Echo.
Here.
Director Arts.
Here.
Director Green is here. Director Reeder.
Here.
Director Satter.
Here.
Director Duong.
Here.
Director Laney.
Sir.
Director Rupchus.
Here.
Director Emeriti June Bryan. Director Emeriti Sally Callahan. Director Emeriti Dan Considine. Director Emeriti Rao.
Present.
I'm going to move back up and check one more time. Director Chris Owen, I see you on the list. Are you?
Yep, I'm here.
There we go.
Did I come through that
Okay.
time?
Yep, I hear you now, loud and
Okay.
clear. And
Great.
Director Yvonne Blosser.
I'm here.
There you go. Okay,
Here. I'm here.
thank you. Got you.
And just to note, I believe there's something in the chat regarding Director Grossman. Looks like
We
Tom
love-
Cox making a comment.
Just talk to Richard and he's trying to log on.
Okay. All right. Currently, we have 29 directors and 1 emeriti present. If Director Grossman can get logged in, we will add him to the roll call when he joins us. All right. So I've presented the meeting format, guidelines, and agenda. It's also being shared. You should be able to see that on your screen. This was sent out in advance for you all to read and review. At this time, I ask for unanimous consent to adopt the meeting format, guidelines, and agenda.
Object.
Objection by Director Smith, was that correct?
Yes.
Okay. State your objection, please.
Since this information for these applied to the board and the membership 10 days ago, and one of the proposals has had a change to it since then, I believe that limiting to 5 minutes restricts the free flow of discussion, and I just believe we need to really take the time to discuss these fully, and I would request that we follow our format, which is Robert's Rules of Order. Secondly, real quickly, I believe that we probably should separate that unanimous consent into 2 different proposals. One is for the method of electronic capture that was required by our postal ballot, that it would be by the consent of the board of directors. And I believe you would probably have a unanimous consent on that. But the other is I object to the time limit.
All right. The motion as it stands was passed out of the executive committee by unanimous vote, without being able to poll the executive committee to change this format. It's going to be presented as is. And since we have an objection, we will proceed to a vote on the meeting format, guidelines, and agenda. We're going to do all of our votes by roll call, so we have a full list. Director Duong, would you like to run that, or do you want me to do so?
I can take it if you want to just call it out.
Director Bailey.
Yes.
Did Director Grossman ever get in to join us? Just looking here. Director Grossman, I don't believe is with us.
I'll keep trying because I talked to him.
Thank you. Director Hitch,
Yes.
Director Noble,
Yes.
Director Owen,
Yes.
Director Smith,
Given that they can't be separated, I will vote yes.
Director Blosser,
Yes.
Director Cockburn,
Yes.
Director Judlowski,
Yes.
Director Mathis,
Yes.
Director Schnipke,
Yes.
Director Thompson Hadjick,
Yes.
Director Dorsey,
Yes.
Director Schroeder,
Yes.
Director Warren Hughes,
Yes.
Director Losi,
Yes.
Director Rossell,
Yes.
Director Van Echo,
Yes.
Director Arts,
Yes.
Director Green is yes, Director Reeder,
Yes.
Director Satter,
Yes.
Director Duong,
Yes.
Director Laney,
Yes.
Director Rupchus.
Yes.
All right. Director Duong, were you tabulating votes? I was, if you were not.
Yes, 29 yeses, 0 no's, 0 abstain, 1 not voting.
All right. The meeting format, guidelines, and agenda are adopted. I'm going to stop sharing here. Our first item of business today is the National Sales Committee proposal regarding the Spotlight sale and Colorama sales. Joseph Larson is our National Sales Committee chair. Joseph, are you with us and can take over and share your screen? All right, I see it. The floor is yours, Joseph.
Okay, excellent. Well, thank you all. that action. But in addition to that, try to solve a challenge that we're going to have for the 2027 convention, where no live animals were going to be allowed on premises for that convention, with the only proposal we have for a location. So the committee came back to, I am presenting, I'm not going to read this whole thing because I know it's been in your hands for a couple weeks, but basically big picture is committee voted, results of this vote, by the way, was 18 yeses, 1 no, and 5 not voting, was to continue this current trial and move the entirety of the Spotlight sale in 2026 and 2027 to the national show, and suspend the Colorama sale for 2026 and 2027, following the same guidelines as what we had for this year, where the does may be shown, or they have to be. Bucks must be born within that calendar year and be born before May 1st of that year. We would excuse me, sorry. We would announce the nominations by June 1st of both years. All nominations must follow the national show arrival policies in terms of vet check and health regulations, etc. I do want to highlight some of the pros down below, specifically that 2027 convention pro, that by approving this proposal, it does free up sold bid that we have for the 2027 convention. Yeah, so I think I'll stop there and let you guys discuss.
Director Cox.
I realize this probably isn't, I think it's relevant to discussion, listening to some of the tribulations that some of our exhibitors had at the 2025 National Show with having bucks penned near does and does coming into heat at the event. And so I feel like it's a relevant time to discuss this. And I'm leaning towards a yes, Joseph. But my concern is that so long as we have a designated area to house these bucks that's away from our show animals, so that we can try and mitigate this problem. And I understand that you're not responsible as a committee chair for where our national shows are held, but if we can task your committee and the national show chair, I know she's on this call as well, with having a designated space that is of distance, proper distance away from the exhibition animals, to help lessen this issue, because it was an issue for exhibitors and it is a concern, and I want that reassurance before we vote that this will be taken care of. Thank you.
Yes, so I'm glad you brought that up. I talked to Laura this week, and we're in pretty clear alignment of what we envision for the pinning at nationals. At least this year. Obviously 2027 is a little bit more vague, being how we don't have an approved facility for there yet. With that said, this year our full intention is to have individual pins, no nose-to-nose contact between not only consignments but also exhibiting animals. We hope to have that in a completely separated area, bike racked around, so that there is no contact with any other goats there. That way it can go back to being more of like a spotlight saley tent type feeling, where those animals are showcased and isolated from the other goats there. Our goal, and the conversation I had with Laura, is that will happen in the same building as the rings, but like I said, separated from the housing of the goats at nationals as well as the actual show rings. But that's our goal. I believe that the building in which we are showing in West Springfield is still up for some debate. And so like, I can't give you a concrete layout of how this is going to look because of that, but that's our goal and what we both will be striving for. And Laura, if I misrepresented any of that, feel free to chime in.
Director Stroda, you had your hand up next.
Just from a farm animal reproductive standpoint, and also multi-species experience and my own, especially hauling animals to nationals, I wasn't anywhere near those bucks, and my does still came into heat this year because I forgot to put cedars in them. Whenever you transport an animal, and we used to do this a lot with the horses and even the hogs, if we wanted them to come into heat, we'd load them up, move them to a different farm for 7 days, and they would be in heat. So multiple animals will come into heat. It wasn't just the presence of those bucks next to them. There are many people who experience heat cycles on their animals after transport of any distance.
Director Warren Hughes.
So I just wanted to say, yes, that Joseph and I did talk about this. And again, just to reemphasize, we don't have final information on what buildings we're going to show in, but the idea really is to showcase those animals. And yes, that we will do everything we can to make it both a safe experience for the bucks and for other exhibitors, but also ensure that Spotlight Sale really is able to keep as much of that excitement and promotion of these amazing animals that we possibly can. So.
Right. Do we have any other discussion? Director Smith.
So in the 2024 board meeting, it was tasked to the committee come up with the financials comparing having just a Spotlight Sale at the Colorama sale or having a Colorama sale and a Spotlight Sale. And it was a very successful sale this year in 2025. But do we have, I believe it was asked for a 3-year study or a 3-year backup 3 years and compare, and then we could compare it to 25. Was that study ever done? And do we have financials to back up keeping this the way it is? Because we did last year tell our members that it would be a 1-year term only, and there was a lot of angst from the membership that we'll never get it back, and you guys are just telling us 1 year and we'll never get it back at convention. So I have concerns, but we told them 1.
Right. Joseph Larson, would you speak to that? I know you are working on some financials that I've seen, so I know they're not complete, but if you want to speak to any of that, go ahead.
Yeah, so I'm going to show this spreadsheet. It is not a completed financial picture at all because we are still tracking down numbers. Let me zoom in so that that's easier to see on the screen. I believe this got floated around the director email list earlier this week. I think Anna forwarded it on if I heard correctly. But the office has been, like, I got some more numbers like late this afternoon, and hopefully there's still some more coming in terms of the missing expenses that we've had from the last few years of Spotlight Sale. And so like I said, this is what we have. I think there's still missing numbers. And so like at this time, and that's a big reason why the committee voted to just do this 2-year trial period, because I don't think we have concrete numbers yet from the previous 3 years to know exactly where we are at. And so until we have those, it's hard to make this purely a financial decision, if that makes sense.
Director Upchus?
For the record, Director Emeritus Considine has joined the meeting and Director Grossman has joined the meeting as well.
Thank you. I'll add them to the roll call.
To tag on to that last point, I would welcome any other directors' help in tracking down these numbers if you have any of them.
Director Mathis.
So I posted this on the board of directors list this week, but the action that was passed at the 2024 board meeting was to accept the finance committee's recommendation to have the director of finance work with the chairs to prepare a 3-year comparative financial that included both the spotlight sale and the Colorama sale. And along with that, information relative to the convention. And we don't have that. We didn't have financial information when we voted on this in 2024. And it's over a year later, and we still don't have financial information. And we sat there in the meeting at the time and said we needed to stop making decisions with no financial information. And here we are. We don't have the financial information, and only looking at the spotlight sale is not the whole picture, because obviously is not the whole picture. And it's frustrating that we have audited financial statements. These are prior years where we have audited financial statements, and we can't put together a set of numbers on 2 sales. And I don't think we should be voting on this without having financial information, especially since the action was passed at the board of directors meeting with the intent that the information would be put together so this board could make an informed decision about this. And I know it's not only a financial decision, but it impacts the convention as well. And I know that directors have written posts this week on the board of directors list with their concerns about how this impacts convention. And I think part of what was supposed to come out of this as well is what would replace the spotlight sale at convention. And we don't have any indication that there's anything to replace the spotlight sale or as an additional draw to our members to attend our convention, which it could be a financial loss to this organization. So again, my objection isn't anything about how the sale went last year or whether the committee is making a good decision for the consigners or any of that. It's purely about we need to stop making decisions without having financial information, and we don't have it.
Director Thompson Hadjic.
I'll just say that I share in Julie's concerns that, that piece, that incomplete information piece. The one kind of big elephant in the room, of course, is we don't know what the 2025 convention financials are. All right, at least I haven't seen them, and I don't think anybody. Well, I mean, maybe the EC has seen those financials preliminarily. And Tom, Director Cox, if you could speak at all to the financials of the 2025 convention, that might provide me, I think, with a little bit more confidence that convention is okay enough without a sale. So that's one thing. The other piece, I guess, and this is not related to financials as much, but I wanted to ask Director Warren Hughes, I think one issue with this is a separate issue from financials. One issue that I think Dr. Snyder brought up is, that, while certainly the spotlight sale performed well in 2025 at the national show, there was a real sense of it not being real special, right? And so I think one way to mitigate that issue would be, let's say if we could have it in a separate location from the show ring, like a place where you can go away from just the show ring and have it in a special building or event center or even a stage. This is going back quite a long ways, but I do remember in the Gillette National Show in 1991, that Colorama sale was actually held, and maybe I might be messing up it was either Gillette or it might have been the 1990 National Show. The Colorama sale was held at one of those nationals in an actual like theater with a stage. It felt really special. And I know that every facility can't offer that sort of option, but is there such a site that would just be away from the show ring where you had a different kind of atmosphere that could be generated that was maybe just a little bit more exciting or a little bit more special? Now, this is a totally separate issue from the issues that Julie has brought forward. So that's, yeah, my dog was barking there. So so I'll close out my comments with those 2 points.
Director Repchus, you're up next.
To reply on several of those points, I also share concerns with Anna and Julie in terms of the timeliness, the reliability, and the completeness of information that we have to make decisions as a general rule. And this extends beyond just this specific topic and proposal, and that's something that we really need to do better with. The last 5 years have been tremendously challenging with staff turnover, unreliability, and NG, that it just makes it very difficult to make these decisions. And we end up in the situation that we're in because, you know, we made a decision for 1 year and we were going to gather more information, then we still don't have access to that information, even after we revisited the topic at this previous annual meeting. So that's something that we need to do better. You know, I'm on the EC. We need to do better as an EC in terms of motivating staff and engaging staff to provide those things reliably. Secondly, I was the original person that made the motion that led to the suspension of the sale at convention. And I intentionally left that open, that I was anticipating there would still be an event, just not a live animal sale. The original wording just suspended a live animal sale at the annual meeting. That I think, especially we've seen that through advancing reproductive technologies, there are considerable opportunities to still offer a premier event at our annual meeting, that, you know, perhaps through a streaming or a slideshow, we can highlight animals and genetics and our programs and animals that perform well in those programs. That Joseph listed it in his, you know, committee work, the notes. The committee will continue to work on possible substitutes. I really hope to see something, and, you know, perhaps that's something as an EC we can discuss and provide directive to the annual meeting committee. And important the directors keep in mind, members don't have access to the chat. So things that are typed there are not seen, and they're still relevant and need to be said. So there was one item raised that I'll just read what was said. Director would like to bring to the board again that our organization only DNA types the individual animal being nominated, not doing parent verification. A member mentioned we paid for typing parents, and that is not our responsibility. So if an animal needs to be parent verified, the owner needs to take that expense on themselves. There is some ambiguity in the wording that is in our bylaws currently, and that is something that's being discussed in committee. So I do hope that that will be addressed to provide clarity for everyone. But it is important to keep in mind that our members do not see the chat, and that if we are utilizing that as part of the meeting, it needs to enter the record. Thank you.
So can I jump in real quick on that last point from Ben? That is fully my mistake from last year. I was given a different view of how we DNA type the consignments at the beginning of the year. So I take responsibility, and this year we will only be typing the consigners or the consignments that we accept. All parents will fall back onto the breeders. I would like to highlight that point is irrelevant whether or not we have spotlight sale at convention or nationals, because it is the same thing. So.
All right. Director Cockburn.
Just a point of note here. The Indiana group has texted me that they are capable of hosting the spotlight sale at convention in Indianapolis if that is the wishes of this board. So Indianapolis is able to handle it. The proposal is for 2027, just so that we know as a board. So there is an option for 2026 if we so choose.
Director Cox?
I apologize that for whatever reason, my camera isn't working, but I wanted to first address what Anna had said. Unfortunately, I do not have financial information for you. I can give you a little context because the chairs of annual meeting long range and annual meeting and I discussed the differences between an East Coast convention and the convention the previous year in Lake Geneva. And we felt as a whole that there were about 100 less people in attendance. And I think that has to do with geography, not, and that was the meeting as a whole, not one particular event. We did a costume contest and had a ball. I think that the contest was well attended. We had approximately 130 people that attended the last meal. To me, that is typical for a convention. It may be on the smaller side because it was on the East Coast. And so, that is part of this to consider. In speaking to what Julie is stating, I'm going to make a motion that we refer this proposal back to committee, and I task the EC with working with staff to provide the necessary financial information so that we can make an informed decision and vote on this proposal at our January meeting.
There has been a motion to refer this proposal back to the committee and to have the EC work. Tom, could you rephrase that for me? To work with who?
The EC work
committee?
with the staff. The director of finance needs to provide this information. This is historical data, and there have been changes in chairs because that is the way that we run our committee structure. But that information is there, and the staff needs to find it for us, and the EC needs to be making sure that that's happening for us.
All right. Motion to refer to committee, have the EC work with staff and the committee to complete the financials for the spotlight sale. Is there a second on that?
My hand is raised, but I'll second.
Oh, okay. Thank you. Dr. Mathis was second. All right. Is there any discussion on the motion to refer to committee?
I don't know if I get to speak up in this moment or not.
Let's. Let's hear.
Travis has his hand up.
Yeah. Travis Cockburn, do you have your hand up?
No, it didn't come off a minute
It
ago.
didn't
Sorry.
come off. Okay.
Yep.
I'm gonna go in the order that I have because I'm not sure if Director Rupchus, is your hand up to speak on the refer to committee?
Yes.
Go ahead.
I appreciate the desire for additional information. I think that it could be more strongly and clearly expressed if there were specific data points provided as part of the motion to refer, in the sense of the fact that we need not just spotlight sale data, but Colorama sale data as well. Those numbers and any income generated by Colorama sale must be considered. We must also consider the overall financial position of each of the annual meetings apart from the spotlight sale, not just the spotlight sale as a part of the meeting.
Director Warren Hughes.
So I do have a concern. If we delay voting on this now, does that impact negatively moving forward with the 2027 work towards convention? Because I know that time's ticking on that. And could this amendment also state that we will revisit it in January when we have already scheduled a meeting on January 24th?
Is the intent of the motion.
Okay.
Director Owen.
Just again, asking for a little clarity, and I'd like to hear what Joseph has to say on this in terms of, I know that last year, the spotlight sale rolling, getting those nominations in, all of the things that they needed to do to have a successful sale, it worked out. But I think that we need to be a little bit careful, just kicking this can down the road, because I do believe that we're asking the committee to put on an event that is worthy of showcasing our animals, but at the same time, we also need to be aware of, you know, maybe there's a template in place and it won't be as hard this year to get that spotlight sale nomination packets out there and all that. But I would be in favor of holding a vote or holding my vote off until January, if that is indeed the case, or where it's realistic for us to get this financial information. But at the same time, I would also like to hear from Joseph what he has to say about what this is going to do in terms of the committee's work ahead of them.
Joseph, can you respond to that before I call on the next director?
Yeah, I'm concerned that the financials won't be much different in January. We can hope that they are. And if it goes past January, then we are functioning on a very abbreviated time line here. We have to get a nomination form updated. I've held off on all of that pending this vote, because if I have to, like if we end up having spotlight sale at convention, then that's a completely different line of work that needs to be done on that. I think it's still doable if we wait till January. It's just gonna be more compressed than what I was hoping for.
Director Warren Hughes, is your hand up to speak on the motion to refer? No? Okay. Director Bailey?
Everybody is correct here. My concern is kicking this can into the January meeting and not actually getting the financials. So I guess my question is more towards the EC. If we do that tonight, do you really think you're going to have the financials for us to make this vote in January?
Director Schnipke, and then after that, I will speak and respond to Director Bailey's comment.
So my comment kind of mimics what I've been hearing the last couple directors saying, is that by postponing this decision, while prudent in asking for that information, we're now asking committee members, many of whom I'm sure will be in the middle of kidding season. I think any and all of us that are still actively breeding goats can attest to the added stressors and limited time and resources that we have during kidding season. And I feel that asking our committee members to operate on a shortened timeline in the height of kidding season for something that we need nominations by a certain point that's earlier in the year, without having knowledge of whether we're going to actually approve this at the January meeting or not, and not having a very clear definitive answer of whether we will even have the information to vote on this in January or not. I'm really caught between a rock and a hard place on this.
Okay, so to respond to Director Bailey's comment, that is my concern also. We have had the reason why this information is so difficult to obtain is we've had significant turnover in staff. We have changed accounting systems. It is not, going back multiple years, is not easily obtainable. Can some of that information be obtained yet? I believe so, but I do not believe that there's going to ever be a extremely clear pictures of both sales. I don't think that is. I think there'll have to be a lot of estimates and best guesses put in there. But my bigger concern is what we're talking about here. We have a potential 2027 convention proposal that will not come until after we make a decision on this, because they cannot host a live animal sale. We have a national show that's actively being planned that needs to know these answers. We have a 26 convention that why they can host a live animal sale. I've been told by multiple people that that's not really what they want, but they can do it. But they can handle it either way, is what I've been told directly from those organizers of the 26th convention. But they need certainty, and to continue to kick this can down the road when we are not going to have much more certainty, I think is a mistake. And I think we need to act on this and move forward. Director Thompson-Hadjick.
I guess the only other thing I would say is regarding this issue too is that the information that is missing, a lot of that information is also going to come from not necessarily current ADGA staff. It's coming from former chairs and former EC members. Former Director Baden, for example, has quite a bit of information about, say, the 2022 sale and why those numbers are so challenging to work through. And so, that's something that, if we do vote to refer this back to committee, the EC, I would just say to the EC that you'll have to go to the former chairs more so than the staff, right? The other thing to certainly consider is that if we did end up, say, not having a spotlight sale at the national show and instead have a spotlight sale at the convention, well, then you do have a longer timeline to work with. I'm personally not sure what's better. The other thing to think about, of course, is that our national show this summer is on the coast, right? On the East Coast. And so will we have a more limited pool of animals? Will we have a more limited pool of bidders because it is it's a coastal national show, whereas our Indiana location for convention is more central? That's a question that can't necessarily be answered. But I do think that there could be value in really diving into the numbers to some extent, but then also considering the various certain kind of historical context of each year. So when we look at, say, 2021, where we have very little information, but yet we have this incredible profit or revenue that was realized from the 2021 convention. That was a convention that was coming off of COVID, right? And so people were very eager to spend money in 2021. People may not be as eager in 2026 because of economic headwinds that they're feeling in all kinds of ways. And I just think that's a whole another elephant in the room to think about. And I So I guess these are just additional points to think about.
Okay. Director Fleming on the motion to refer to committee.
I think this conversation has kind of gotten tangled up between referring and kind of morphing back to the original. But I will say that I agree that we need better financials. I thought that from the get-go. If you recall, this proposal came from the floor at the end of 2 very long days of meetings. And with no warning, we made it with no financial consideration. It was just kind of made by the seat of people's pants, if you'll excuse that expression. And we just did it. And it was supposedly for 1 year, which kind of knew at the time was going to be a problem. But we have not revisited it in the way that it was intended. And I don't feel comfortable voting on this. We really need the financials. I think the convention last year was severely affected. Tom tells us we don't know that, but I can't agree that the numbers were down because it was on the East Coast or because whatever else he said. I more people told me, I'm not coming. Why should I come? There's nothing to come for. And that's just my opinion. I certainly speak in favor of referring it.
Director Rupchus, was your hand up?
No.
Okay. Any other discussion on the motion to refer to committee?
Question.
All right. Director Duong, are you ready to record votes?
Yes.
Okay. Do you want to call or you want me to call them?
You can go ahead and call.
Okay. On the motion to refer the national sales proposal back to committee. Director Cassette.
Yes.
Director Cox.
Yes.
Director Biddle.
Yes.
Director Fleming.
Yes.
Director Schneider.
Yes.
Director Bailey.
No.
Director Grossman.
Yes.
Director Hitch.
No.
Director Noble.
No.
Director Owen.
No.
Director Smith.
Yes.
Director Blosser.
Yes.
Director Cockburn.
No.
Director Jadlowski.
No.
Director Mathis.
Yes.
Director Schnipke.
No.
Director Thompson Hadjic.
Yes.
Director Dorsey.
Yes.
Director Stroda.
No.
Director Warren Hughes.
No.
Director Losi. Director Losi.
No.
Director Roussel.
Yes.
Director Van Echo.
No.
Director Arts.
No.
Director Green is a no. Director Reeder.
No.
Director Satter.
No.
Director Duong.
No.
Director Laney. Director Laney.
No.
Director Rupchus.
No.
It was just a moment to tabulate votes. Director
I have
Duong?
12 yeses, 18 nos.
I concur with that count. The motion to refer to committee has failed. Is there any other discussion on this motion before we proceed, on this proposal before we proceed to vote? Seeing none, we'll proceed to a roll call vote on the national sales proposal as presented. I will call the roll of directors. Director Cassette.
No.
Director Cox.
No.
Director Biddle.
No.
Director Fleming.
No.
Director Schneider.
No.
Director Bailey.
Yes.
Director Grossman.
No.
Director Hitch.
Yes.
Director Noble.
Yes.
Director Owen.
Yes.
Director Smith.
No.
Director Blosser. Director Blosser.
Yes.
Director Cockburn.
Yes.
Director Jedlowski.
Yes.
Director Mathis.
No.
Director Schnipke.
Yes.
Director Thompson Hadjic.
Yes.
Director Dorsey.
No.
Director Stroda.
Yes.
Director Warren Hughes.
Yes.
Director Losi.
Yes.
Director Rossell.
Yes.
Director Van Echo.
Yes.
Director Arts.
Yes.
Director Green is a yes. Director Reeder.
Yes.
Director Satter.
Yes.
Director Duong.
Yes.
Director Laney.
Yes.
Director Rupchus.
Yes.
I didn't get Director Schnipke's vote. Was that a yes or a no?
Director Schnipke voted yes. Is that correct, Director Schnipke?
Yes. I voted yes.
Thank you. I have 21 yeses, 9 nos.
I concur with that count. The motion to accept the national sales proposal as written has passed. Thank you, Joseph, for bringing that to us.
Thank you all.
And Joseph, you can go ahead and log out and join the rest of the members on YouTube. The last count I had, we had 154 ADGA members or 154 people watching this YouTube live stream. So it's great to see that much interest from our membership. Moving back to our agenda, the next item on our agenda is the National Show Long Range Committee proposal for the 2027 ADGA National Show. And we will turn the floor over to Director Duong, who is the chair of that committee.
Good evening, guys. So we have the national sales, National Show Long Range proposal that obviously was sent to the directors and was available for members to view on the password protected site. Just a little backstory or a little history on the National Show Long Range and what we actually do is part of the things that we actually do is actually look for a viable site. Back, I believe in 2019, and if anybody could correct me if I'm wrong here, but the the committee then and the board of directors voted for a rotational regional sites, basically having a western site, which roughly was District 7 and 8. You have a central west location, which is District 6 and 7. Then you have a eastern central, which was 3 and 4. And then you have the eastern site, which is 1 and 2. So 27 basically sets us up as a West Coast show. The past 3 years, I've been on this committee, and I know that the committee prior has worked really hard to establish a venue that will fit our needs. We have a lot of needs and requirements. We're finding less and less of them available throughout the U.S., right? And West Coast is definitely one of those issues. One is being able to have enough pens that we need. We look at anywhere between 2,400 and 3,000 pens, equivalent to like a 6x6 pen. So with that said, the past 3 or 4 months now, we've been working on this proposal for Salem, Oregon, which has obviously floated around, and people are able to see what we have here. We did a rough estimate and budgeted for 2,400 pens, which they have available for us in a combination of 6x6 pens as well as horse stalls. The facility has the ability to borrow or rent some additional pens as long as we give them advance notice so that they could actually facilitate that and have that available for us. There's been a lot of concerns in regards to the no sleeping in the barns. I know that's a huge topic both on the director's list as well as on social media. It's definitely an understandable concern for different reasons. But here, on the West Coast, a lot of the facilities don't allow for members to actually sleep in the barns. I can't say that's all of them, but a lot of them are. So a lot of the people on the West Coast here are used to that. Unfortunately, that we will have some members that could travel in from other parts of the country that if they are used to staying in the barns, they will have to figure out another option, whether it's camping, RV, or whatever. And understandable that that could affect their budget, but also not having this facility and having members from this side of the country having to travel across the country could also affect their budget as well. So we could definitely think about that as consideration when we're thinking about our decision here. There was a petition that was put out there. I think there was over 415 odd members who signed that petition. Most of them, from what I was able to see, were here on the West Coast. There were some that were in the Midwest and on the East Coast that signed it, whether they're attending or they're just trying to show their support for having a show here on the West Coast. We don't know obviously how many of those people on that will actually come. But if we look at, even if we have half those people come, call it 220. We did budget for 2,200 animals to attend this show, which was about the number I believe from 2023 is what participated on this side of the coast, which is obviously less than any other parts Grand Island as an example, or other facilities, right? Just being further to the west. But with that said, 2,200 animals, 220 people. I mean, each exhibitor is bringing 10 animals. I don't think that is that's definitely not something that isn't possible. I know herds are going to be bringing more or less, but on an average 10 animals, I think that's pretty doable. The concern that I also saw was financial aspects, right? We want to make sure that we're not going to be in a position where the association is losing money. I've actually had members reach out to me about that, and that's a total concern. And I'm happy that members are concerned about that. But the West Coast has done well. I mean, the 23 show, I think, profited just over 50,000, give or take. I think that's on the year-end report there. And then we have a lot of exhibitors who are willing to make sure that this show happens. I've had members reach out and wonder, can they sponsor now? Can they start donating now to make sure this happens if the board of directors approve it? We also have, the West Coast has done a fair job of helping finance by donating. I don't know if I did my math right. Roughly about 45% of all the animals that have been donated to the raffle has come from either California or Oregon or Washington. So they're willing to donate more animals to help support the show if the board decides this is a place for us to go. I could go on, but I think most of you guys already have some questions or comments or whatnot. So I'm just gonna leave it at that.
Director Duong, do you want me to share the membership the proposal that went to the membership so they can see it on screen while we're talking? Is that?
No, I think keeping the view of whoever's speaking, I think is fine. I think the membership has seen the proposal already.
Okay.
I do want to add in that there was an addendum that was made, just so that everybody's aware. And it's going to read as is. On December 14th, 2025, the National Show Long Range Committee unanimously voted 8-0 on the language below to be added to the National Show rules for 2027. Exhibitors attending the 2027 National held at the Oregon State Fair and Expo Center are not permitted to engage in overnight lodging in the barns or to maintain any arrangements that give the appearance at any time, day or night. Any exhibitor found to be in violation of these rules by the Oregon State Fair and Expo Center and or fire marshal, resulting in a fine or penalty, shall be solely responsible for all associated fines, penalties, and any additional fees incurred in addressing the violation. The following language is already included in the guidebook under committee guidelines of the National Show under page 40. Any exhibitor or vendor who refuses the rules and regulations at the National Show will be prohibited from participating in future national shows for a period of time to be determined by the board of directors. The National Show has the authority to request people to leave and bar them from participating in further functions at the National Show that year for violation of ADGA National Show rules, providing a majority of the National Show Committee members attending said show are present to vote. This policy applies exclusively for the 2027 National Show held at the Oregon State Fair and Expo Center and is based on facility requirements. It is not intended to set precedents or indicate a permanent change to the National Show standards or rules beyond this event. Let me add to that, as far as a concern that actually a director addressed was, how will this affect future shows? And are we going to basically set a rule that we can't sleep in barns? That is determined by the board of directors. The National Show rules comes out. That is done by the National Show Committee, not the National Show Long Range, and the board of directors will vote on those rules. So that's something that I have no control over at this point. The other thing is the barns are open 24/7 for anybody to actually go in and go out and take care of their animals, whether milking and so forth. People have already talked about setting up groups and trading off and so forth. That's all dependent on the exhibitors and how they want to handle that situation. The other comment before I let that go is one of our directors actually let us know that the Harrisburg location, which is where the 2022 national show was held, at that time we were able to stay in the barns. As of 2026, that's not available anymore. We don't know if this is going to continue to happen throughout the country or if it's just isolated in certain areas. So with that said, I mean, even other facilities that we have already approved as a board, like 2028 for Louisville, heaven forbid that happens. I mean, what are we going to do at that point? Are we not going to have the show there? Are we going to look for a different venue? Like these are things that we need to think about. I'm not defending one direction or another. So I think that is all I have to say.
So you guys have all received the national show proposal from the long range committee. Is there discussion? Director Smith.
So, thank you. Julie Mathis and I were co-chairs in 2019, and we started long before that, trying to ensure that there was equitable ability and opportunity for our members. Speaking for myself, 100% that show should be on the West Coast. When it came out that it was no sleeping in the barn, I was very concerned about that. And so I want to read real quickly. The major purposes of having a national show are: A, major competition speeds the time needed for improvement of the breeds. B, opportunity to educate the general public as to the positive qualities of dairy goats and goat milk. C, give ADGA a showcase for its program and members. D, increases the exposure of high-quality dairy goats to the local area and thereby helps to improve knowledge and quality of dairy goats in a given area. That tells us that we need to give equal opportunity to different areas of the country, and I am 100% in favor of that. One of the things that I was told early on is our major events are not to be considered profit centers for ADGA. And when we came up with the 4 different regions, it was decided and discussed and talked about that some years we would have shows that made a lot of money, and some years we would have shows that might lose some money. But over the 4 regions, it would even out. Last year, at the 2025 National Show, then President Jadlowski announced that we made $84,000 on our raffle. I would like to charge this EC and this board that we revert back to the money that's raised at National Show for the National Show be used to facilitate these shows in areas where there may not be as many people, as many exhibitors. I thought that there would be a real loss of maybe not the 2,200 goats. On my opinion, from being chair for 3 years, I expected that there would possibly be as much as a 25% decrease by not sleeping in the barn. And we hear all the time, well, the national show is for rich people. Poor people can't go. And as most of you know, I'm real big on budgets. So I sat down and looked through all the budgets. And the proposal, the profit and loss that we have, shows a significant profit for that show. I'd like the EC, I'd like to charge the EC to ensuring that money that we have made goes to help reduce the cost to our members. We had pen fees at $30 for the 6x6 and stalls at $55. If we drop that to $20 for pens and $40 for the horse stalls, there's still a profit, and that's without national sales, and that's without live stream. There's still a profit, but it helps our people. It will help defray the cost of the people who are going to have to who have to camp on the grass, or they're going to have to get a hotel room, or they're going to have to do something. We need to get back to saying that these shows, nowhere in the major purposes of having a national show does it say, let's make money and put it into our general fund. We should be self-supporting. And these shows, it was all thought up to be that they would help cover each other. It would be over the 4 shows, it would be that it came out. They might make a little, they might lose a little. We have $84,000 that came in that raffle. And I would charge the EC to ensure that in those P&Ls that were sent to us, I know we can't set that, but the National Show Committee puts in a budget for the 2027 show. They'll do one for 2026. And I fully expect that the money that we make at these profitable shows be used to help defray the cost for our members, and will help our members that are going to have more costs for this. So with that said, it is my recommendation that we do that. As a board, we take that position that the money raised for national shows is to help our members in the other shows and give equality across the country. And I would ask all of the directors to stick with that and make sure we do that. And I would ask you to vote yes for the show on the West Coast in Salem, Oregon, and that we take the money that has been raised and profit for a national show, and we use that to help defray the costs that allow our members to attend that show. Furthermore, on live streaming, we are one of the few, I think we're the only one, that has a national show, and we charge our members for it. Part of our association manager's job description, when we posted that, said to seek corporate sponsors, and I would ask the EC to work with our association manager and find a corporate sponsor for our live streaming through Walton. It was very difficult for them last year to figure out how to let us charge for members to watch the live stream, because everybody else they use does it for free for their membership. So I would charge the EC to work with that association manager, Ms. Reynolds, to get us a sponsor and do live stream for free, have it sponsored and paid for, and it free to all the members of ADGA. Because the money that we make over and above goes into the general fund, and that helps defray the cost for all the members. So we need to put that money back into national show. And I think that's kind of all I got to say right now. Thanks.
All right, Director Schnipke.
Okay, so I have a couple points just for clarification. And I don't know if this is specifically directed at Director Duong or the committee. But when I was reading through the proposal and what I was hearing from the amendment and the way that I read it and heard it, is that sleeping in the barns would be constituted as night or day. Is that correct?
The facility is not going to be concerned about somebody falling asleep, taking a nap. The issue is them basically setting up cots and sleeping bags and tents and all of that perception, right? You know, if you're in the barn at night and you're sitting there trying to milk your goat and you doze off, I mean, and your head is on the udder, I mean, I think it's going to be fine.
Oh, okay, so the reason that I wanted clarification, and as silly as that may sound, I've been guilty myself of falling asleep in my cot chair, you know, not a tent, but just my chair. And the way that the amendment read to me, if we look at it just purely from a non-objective standpoint, is that there could potentially be an opening for exhibitors. If a fire marshal walks by and sees an exhibitor laying out across their milk stand because they're that exhausted, because they were up walking and checking on their does all night, because that was a real concern of theirs, and they couldn't afford to have a crew walk by and check their goats, it gave the impression that there could potentially be possible ramifications for those exhibitors that might have that. And I just wanted that clarified as my first point. I'll continue with my second point, and I brought this up at the board of directors meeting in October as a potential idea. I remember saying at that time, I'm sorry for doing committee work here, but have we looked at, has this board or the committee looked at the potential for priority pricing for distance exhibitors? So those that are outside of a set number of miles, let's call it 1,000 miles outside of the geographical center of where that show is hosted. So if we're talking Salem, those exhibitors coming from 1,000 miles, 750 miles, you would have to decide that as a national show committee and a long range committee, but then we would look at it as a board. But my point behind that is that would do a couple of things. Those that are very vocal about a show in their area, such as we have for 2027. I understand that it should be on the West Coast. I have never once been one to try to gatekeep from the West Coast exhibitors. I fully support that. However, I would be remiss if I didn't say that the most vocal people on social media about wanting it there are the West Coast exhibitors. We know that's a fact. I get that. You want the show close to you. I want the show close to you. But we also have to be prudent that this, as directors, we have to make sure not necessarily that this is going to be a profit earner, but it's certainly not going to be something that is a loss for all of our membership simply because one geographical area wants it. And by doing priority pricing, and that can apply to the coastal shows and it can apply to the central shows as well, thereby, let's again go back to Louisville. Louisville is in 2027. So those exhibitors coming from the West Coast would have a priority price that is lower per pen for them to offset the budgetary costs that they have to get to the show, right? And if we look at, or 2028 was Louisville, excuse me. So if we look at 2027 being Salem, then those exhibitors coming from the East Coast would also get a priority pricing that it's a little bit cheaper. That might help defray the cost of, you know what, I can't sleep in the barn. I have to pay for dry camping, or I have to pay for a hotel, or I have to pay for an Airbnb. I think that looking at some creative outside of the box methods to defray those costs, it's not going to help for those that say, it's a safety thing for my animals and I'm the only one going to be there. Somebody's got to check on those animals, and I'm going to have to take the educated guess that my animals will be fine overnight, or invest in a camera system, or whatever that choice is. I just think that thinking creatively outside of the box when it comes to budgetary items for our membership, so that we are not potentially dissuading those from an outside district that might want to go to nationals and say, I can't go because I didn't budget for that. And while the West Coast exhibitors, a huge percentage of them might be used to not sleeping in the barns, it sounds to me by what was being said is that it's a lot of the Mid-East and the Eastern people that have problems with that. Okay, but now you're shooting yourself in the foot with those exhibitors not being able to come unless you do something creative by changing the pricing fee schedule. I know that creates headaches from the way that, who registers and how that price fee schedule pops up. I'm just saying, can we look at that as a potential for our members?
I think that's all valid points. Thank you, Kurt. I like that thought process.
Director Bailey?
I have three questions,
I have
kind of in
three
three
questions,
different directions. First, Director Smith made a. I'm sorry, there's a terrible echo. It's killing me here. She made
Could everybody turn off their mics, please?
She made a point about the $84,000 raffle profit in 2025. So first question is, so are the raffle profits, etc., all going into the general fund now, where she is suggesting it go to the National Show Fund? So that's a question for somebody. The second was, Tom, you said that the facility probably wouldn't have a problem with that. people in their chairs and so forth. And as I read the proposal, they have the ability to cause a lot of trouble at the national show over people falling asleep in their chair or on their milk stands. So do you have anything from them, the facility, to help us have a better feeling of what could happen? And then the third question is to President Green. If we call for a vote on this tonight, before you call it, would you please make sure we know exactly what we're voting for? Because some of the suggestions that Director Smith made would make me vote differently than I intended of voting as I came into this discussion.
So as far, Jane, I dislike using the word assumption, but anybody who's going to come by and take a look at somebody sleeping, I would think would give them a warning of like, hey, like, could you wake up? You're not supposed to be sleeping here, or something of that sort. Again, the facility was basically like, we don't want to see this type of action. They did specify, like, if somebody falls asleep, we're not going to like fine them. We're not going to give them a bill or a penalty or something like that. But I would suspect that if it's an ongoing process, right? If it happens routinely, it's happening every night or every, and we're going to get the idea of who is just trying to manipulate the rules, right? And I think that's where the National Show Committee would have to get involved and actually make a decision. And that's where, they would all have to have a discussion at that point.
Just to answer your other question, Jane, the proposal that's on the floor is specifically as written and submitted by the National Show Long Range Committee, unless there are motions for amendments, which there have not been. There's been some suggestions of things, but there's not been any motions for amendments. So I will clarify that again before we vote. Director Rupchus?
Okay, so it may have been a little while ago, but I've exhibited at a dozen national shows. I had the privilege and honor of judging this last year. It's a great event. It's a great event that builds the image of the industry. It builds opportunities for youth engagement, but it's also it's not the sole and core function of this association. And as we throw around these profit and loss numbers, I've only been a part of the board for the last 3 years, and so those are the budgets that I've seen and had the opportunity to look at. And I do hope that there is caution and understanding with both the board and the membership that these profit and loss reports in recent years, again, I can't speak beyond recent years, but they don't necessarily capture the full impact financially or functionally on the association. The cost of salaries for staff, of wages for staff that are at the national show are not included in that budget. The salary of the association manager, the time that is budgeted from her, from the performance programs manager, from IT, from communications, those are costs that, as we throw around these numbers of like, oh, we're making all this money, it's yes, a little bit, but also we're not capturing the full cost and the impact of pulling these people away from what our other programs are, our core programs like registration and DHI testing and linear as well and DNA services. We have seen repeatedly, and I personally have firsthand knowledge this year of the fact that even myself, the national show pulled me off of other things that were really vital and important to making sure that animals are actually registered correctly in the right herd books. And that was, the national show pulls away from that. So that needs to be kept in mind by other directors, by the membership as a whole. And that's just, I know that's a little bit of a digression, but that's the reality, is there is a bigger cost to this than just the numbers that are reported.
Director Cassette?
So Ben has basically pretty much covered what I wanted to cover. As Finance Committee Chair, we do not allocate administrative costs to the various programs. That is a very tedious, detailed, more grant kind of accounting that we don't do. So yes, there are costs in the budget that deals with staff, but that's the cost of the housing and other items that are there. All of the costs of getting ready for the nationals and the follow-up related to nationals, those are all borne within the association. So we don't make the kind of profits that's being quoted. Yes, they are been substantial fundraising in the last couple of years, which have been able to potentially hold down pen costs and other, but I really want to caution on the fact that we have all this money and we can, use it in subsequent years to reduce, because that is not the case.
Director Owen?
I'd like to just come back around to the fact that we're talking about a proposal for the 2027 National Show on the West Coast. Other ideas that are floated around are great, but the purview of the National Show Long Range is to find the facilities that we can afford that fall into the rotation that has been established, and this does fall into the rotation West Coast. So it has nothing to do with a lot of West Coast people want it, and has everything to do with the board decided under the advice of National Show Long Range to set up a rotation. We do have trouble finding facilities that meet our financial requirements, that meet our size requirements, that want to work with us. Salem is a facility that could be an exciting opportunity for us. We do have obviously some challenges fitting into their restrictions, but I think it's short-sighted to say that that's a make or break situation in terms of sleeping in the barn. We have had facilities that have said, you cannot have a coffee maker, you can't have a refrigerator, you can't have it. And that's the job of National Show Long Range, or National Show, excuse me, to clarify in their rules. And so when we put our commentary into this proposal, we're basically just trying to capture some of the concerns that some of the directors and some of the membership had spoken of. I think it's a little, I think it's important to understand what the facility is suggesting their requirements are. I think it's good that we know in advance. I think it's the job of National Show to write the rules so it is very clear for our membership that when we do end up, if we do end up going to Salem, that we understand exactly what they require. I don't necessarily think that that is where we should get stuck right now. And in that sense, I speak in favor of this proposal. I would also suggest, like Director Duong said,
want to come. I'm more concerned with having enough room for them than I am not having enough people showing there. I realize that it's a different scenario than what a lot of the members are used to, especially in the eastern part of the country, but it's sort of the normal out here. We live with it. And I get the feeling that some people think that it's going to be Gestapo running around, making sure that nobody falls asleep. And knowing the people there, I don't see that happening. If somebody sets up a cot and a sleeping bag, I guarantee you that it will be an issue. But if you happen to be in there clipping a goat and you fall asleep leaning against her or on your milk stand or whatever, I don't foresee it being a problem. I like it was brought out, they do not want to see somebody setting up a bedroom in the barn. And which is what happens at some of the shows. The other advantage to this, I realize there's downsides for a lot of people, but one of the advantages is it frees up a lot of pens that normally would be taken up that way. So there's also, there's both sides to this coin. I really hope this can get approved. I think we need to follow the rotation. I think it's very fair. It's, people in this part of the country, our nearest other possible show for me was 1,400 miles away, and that was in Grand Island. I have attended the shows in Louisville. I've been to Harrisburg, and it's a long haul. And I realize that anybody that wants to come out here, it's going to be a long haul. But there are a lot of people out here that want it, and I think they need to have a chance to have a show that they can actually attend, because even if they were willing to drive that far, for some of them, they can't. I mean, it's a 2-week commitment if we go anywhere else. And there are just a lot of people that can't do it. So I think we should have our shot out here. Thank you.
Director Grossman.
I have several questions related to the no sleeping in the barn, but it's really not no sleeping in the barn. What I want is assurances that people will have access to the barns 24/7, at least if for nothing else than to check up on their animals. Number 2 question is, by not having people staying there, how is this going to affect our liability as it concerns the animals that are being exhibited at the show? Because I'm pretty sure that the show itself, or the fairgrounds itself, is not going to take on the security of checking on 2,200 goats. Those are my questions. How are we going to maintain the integrity and safety of the animals and the people that are there? And is it going to cost us more? Are we going to have to hire our own security?
Director Duong, do you want to respond to that?
So as far as being able to get in all night long, yes, that's definitely something that the facility has already said is possible. You could be in there all night long. You don't have to go to, anywhere, right? You could go in and out. You could milk your goats. You could whatever, clip goats, so forth, right? As far as security, sure. I mean, I think that's something that if the National Show Committee thinks that it needs to be done and that fits within a budget and that budget gets sent to the board for approval, then I mean that can be factored in. But I think that would all be on the National Show Committee of that year.
Okay, I did, but one of the things was to back up is that if there's nobody allowed in the barns, I've been in one of those situations, come in the next morning and the neighbor's goat next door to me had tried to jump the stalls and broke her rear back leg and had hung by her back leg all night long. Needless to say, she didn't make it. So I guess that's part of the reason why I'm impelled to ask the question is, are we truly going to make sure that the animals that are being exhibited there are safe? And if it says specifically in the contract that exhibitors will be allowed in the building 24/7. Because if it doesn't say that, then it's useless. If it's not in black and white, it's not useful.
We could get that in black and white that you're available 24/7. I'm sure that could be added to our contract.
That would be wonderful. Thank you.
You're welcome. That's a good thought.
Director Emeritus Rao.
Yes, thank you. And so my question is just one point of information, and maybe it would benefit our board of members. Just can you give us a quick timeline on, when is a deposit due? When would you expect contracts? And how does that fit in with our current planning for the 26? Just to give us a big picture on timeline for this. I think we're about a year and a half out right now. And that's still a pretty short timeline, isn't it?
Yeah. So did you have more, Joni? Sorry.
No, please.
So as far as timeline, we could basically request a full contract. The deposit is basically the 50% of the building fees. And then a month before, I think it's actually 20 days, but I'm just rounding about a month. We get a second invoice basically to cover the other half of the buildings. And then we're going to get another bill at the end of the event that will cover all the pen fees, any additional costs that we may incur for, tables, chairs, mics, and all of that extra stuff.
And so how long would it be before we would be needing to sign a contract? I understand we're still kind of in that process with the 2026.
Yeah, so we could sign a contract right away. I would advise that we get a contract sooner than later and go ahead and secure it. That way we actually have a facility for 27. Just like anything else, without a deposit, nothing is held permanently, right?
Director Strota.
So I think we're getting into hashing out a little bit too much. I mean, this is a proposal. It's presented to us. We've all got ideas on how national show could be. I suggest people decide that they want to be on national show committee if they really want to do that. I really think we need to get back to what was presented on the proposal. It's basically black and white. We need to take a yes or no vote at this time.
Director Bailey.
One of the members in my district just texted me and says that the facility website says that all vehicles will be towed after 9 p.m. Is that something that is different in the proposal that you guys are negotiating with the facility?
Probably some of the stuff that is being seen on the website is based on the actual fair when the fair is happening. We're a private event, so we're going to be renting the facility, and so we have say of when people could come in and come out and when they could park and so forth.
Okay. Director Satter, you've had your time already. If you have a rebuttal, you have 1 minute.
Yes, just to answer a couple of quick concerns that were brought up. Director Grossman mentioned access to the barns, and I show there all the time. We do have access all night long. In fact, the barns are not closed up. They don't have doors they could close to shut us out if they wanted to. And as far as the vehicles during our fair, we do have to cannot have them by the barn during certain times, but like you said, that is different. Thank you.
And Director Smith, you have 1 minute.
I just want to clarify that if we vote yes to this proposal as presented with the addendum, the board is telling the National Show Committee to put the addendum into the rules for the national show. Is that correct?
That is correct. The national show
Thank
rules,
you.
however, will come back to the board after April 1st for the board to have a final say on those rules.
And that would be the 2027 show committee, not 2026 show committee. And it would come to the board then for votes.
Correct. Thank you, Tom. All right. Seeing no other hands, we shall proceed to vote on the national show proposal for Salem, Oregon. I will call the roll of directors. Director Cassette.
Here, I mean, yes.
Director Cox.
Yes.
Director Biddle.
Yes.
Director Fleming.
Yes.
Director Schneider.
Yes.
Director Bailey.
No.
Director Grossman.
Yes.
Director Hitch.
Yes.
Director Noble.
Yes.
Director Owen.
Yes.
Director Smith.
Yes.
Director Blosser.
Yes.
Director Cockburn.
Yes.
Director Dodlowski.
Yes.
Director Mathis.
Yes.
Director Schnipke.
Cautiously, yes.
Director Thompson Hadjic.
Yes.
Director Dorsey.
Yes.
Director Stroda.
I will say cautiously yes as well.
Director Warren Hughes.
Yes.
Director Losi.
I vote yes.
Director Rossell.
Yes.
Director Van Acco.
Yes.
Director Arts.
Yes.
Director Green is a yes. Director Reeder.
Yes.
Director Satter. Director Satter, you muted. Director Satter.
Yes.
Director Satter is a yes. Director Duong.
Yes.
Director Laney.
Yes.
Director Rupchus.
Abstain.
Abstain. Okay. Vice President Duong, did you tabulate votes?
I have 28 yes, 1 no, 1 abstain.
I have the same. I concur. The National Show Site for 2027 in Salem, Oregon is approved. Next on our agenda is a administrative rule that was sorry, I'm trying to bring this up. Administrative rule change that was brought to us by our subject matter expert that's processing show wins. Julie Mathis, as you guys all know, Director Mathis has done a fabulous job working on show wins, getting these processed from the years that we did not have the ability to process show wins. We were several years behind. We've made up several years here in the last approximately 1 year. 2024, the first half of 2024 is ready to go. It will be released at the first of the year. And we continue to make significant progress towards catching up on the backlog of show wins. Though much credit needs to go to her and to our ADGA staff that has been processing and getting these championship legs out to all of our members that have been waiting. During this process, she has come across and they have come across an issue that has happened with bucks. As you know, in our guidebook, a buck must have a registered offspring to be able to receive a unrestricted win. Due to the years of software challenges that we had after the initiation of our current online registration software database, there was not always timely registration of these offspring. So this has resulted in quite a few bucks only getting restricted legs instead of unrestricted legs. So she had, Director Mathis had brought that to the EC this fall, shortly after convention, and she worked with our programmers and the EC to come up with language that could mitigate this issue so that these bucks can rightfully get the unrestricted legs and finish their permanent championships as many breeders thought that they would have or should have. Simply that language states for shows held January 1, 2021 through January 31, 2025, the offspring referenced in J4C shall be born on or before the show date and registered or recorded by December 31st, 2025. All other provisions remain unchanged. We also added, since this is a administrative rule change and it's limited specifically to this 5-year period of time that we're discussing, now that our software is much improved and animals are registered in a much more timely manner, that this administrative rule change is limited to that time, and that it will be placed as in the ADGA guidebook for a period of 5 years, after which it'll be removed after the 2030 guidebook. This just keeps our guidebook from becoming cluttered with antiquated rulings that no longer apply to anything. I'm going to turn a few minutes over to Director Mathis to speak on this, and then we can have discussion if there are questions. Director Mathis?
Thank you. So the first point I wanted to make is on timing, and I do want this to be included in some way because it will not be immediate. So if this is passed this evening, when we do the release right after the first of the year, this reprogramming will not have been done yet to include this change in the rule. So the programming and implementation of this, if it passes this evening, will occur after the release of the remainder of the 2024 and 2025 show wins. So what will happen is we will continue with the current programming through the rest of those releases, and then we will go back and do that small amount of reprogramming that's required in order to implement this, along with anything else that needs to be done as far as like slight changes in how something is displayed or anything that we do that we want to correct anything in the programming. And then we'll go back to 1/1/2021 and rerun everything forward of that one time to catch everything. So these changes would be caught. If there are individual animals that have any issues that have been brought to our attention where something needs to be corrected, which are very few, but there are a few kind of littered through the whole time frame there, we'll rerun everything one time and change that. So these updates won't be seen by the members until probably late spring of 2026, which is when I'm currently anticipating that we'll be current on show wins. The other point to be made is just so that everyone understands, in terms of what the issues are that have caused the delay in the registrations, and the members probably see these, and I know the board knows about them, but something as simple as the registration being under review, which is a normal process. Some registrations are stuck under review for long periods of time. Some registrations are what we call stuck in the system, where they kind of disappear, or the situation happens where the member doesn't get a certificate. And so that is actually not completing and shown as a registration until the certificate prints and is sent to the member, unable to be processed due to programming bugs, or even just the outright lack of programming in place to register the animal. So the periods of time that are affected by this in some instances is only a matter of like a day or a couple days, all the way up to like 18 months on some of these animals where they were unable to be registered by the association after the time that the registration was applied for. And so the membership really is at the association's mercy in some of these instances. And there are instances that are documented where we have accepted money to sanction buck shows. And one example would be Guernsey buck shows that occurred. For example, in 2023, there were bucks who would have finished at a show in 2023, but their registered progeny or the progeny weren't registered by the association until January of 2025. And so it's that far out. So we're correcting those kinds of situations that have occurred for members. And so there will be some bucks that will go from one restricted leg to an unrestricted leg. There'll be bucks that get 2 unrestricted legs. There'll be bucks who finish their entire championship. And then there's the possibility, and I haven't researched it this far down the road, but I'm sure there's the possibility the bucks will even get a restricted leg as a reserve behind a buck who then finishes. And so that's why we need to run everything forward to get the ripple effect of everything that will happen after these corrections are made.
Director Duong.
Julie, thanks for all that info. And I know the answer, but I would love for the board and the membership to actually have the information in regards to how much time and financial resources, right? Like, we obviously know it's very minimal, but just so that everybody's aware of the programming that is involved in this.
Right. And so it would be, so when we do programming and testing, it's kind of off and on. So this isn't like 2 or 3 full days of programming and testing, but it would probably take us a matter of a couple of days for the programmer to do the reprogramming. He's already aware of this and knows exactly what he needs to do. We've already discussed it. And so to put that in, and then we would test that. And so it's only a matter of a couple of days there. And then I'm estimating cost within all the other programming that we're doing of somewhere less than $1,000 to rectify all of these situations. This is just going to be part of some of the normal programming and rerunning that we're already doing. If this were a completely separate process where we had to go back and do all of this only for this reason, it would be a lot more onerous than it is, but we're already undertaking a lot of this anyway.
Thank you.
I'd like to call for the question.
It appears that Dan's in the freeze mode because he hasn't changed position or move. So I don't know what we do at this point.
Let's give him a second.
This is your chance, Director Duong.
It looks like he's restarting his computer because the screen's changed.
While we're waiting, I'd just like to thank you, Julie, for all the work you and the team down there at ADGA has done on this. It's going to have a real positive impact, and thank you so much for your time.
You're welcome very much. I really am excited to get this done, and it means a lot to me to be able to be a part of making this happen for everybody. And it's been really great to be able to deliver this to the membership.
Yeah, well, good going. Thank you.
Does anybody else have any questions? I hate to take Dan's thunder away here, but I'm sure some of you guys on the East Coast would like to get moving on here. No, if not, I'll call for a vote right now. Bill Cassette,
Yes.
Tom Cox was a yes in the chat. He had to leave. Todd Biddle.
Point of
Yes.
order.
Oh, sorry.
As a roll call vote, and that we did not provide any provisions for proxy voting. I don't think that we are able to record his vote. It should be recorded as a no vote.
No vote. Got it. Thank you.
Or not voting, to clarify.
Not voting. Thank you. Director Biddle, could you
Yes.
thank you. Director Fleming? Is Director Fleming still with us? I'll come back to Director Fleming. Director Schneider?
Yes.
Director Bailey?
Yes.
Director Hitch?
Yes.
Director Noble?
Yes.
Director Owen?
Director Owen? Yes. Yes.
Director Smith?
Director Smith?
Yes.
Could you guys turn off your mic after, please? Director Blosser?
Yes.
Director Cockburn?
Yes.
Director Jalowski?
Yes.
Director Matthews?
Yes.
Director Schnipke?
Yes.
Director Thompson Adjic?
Yes.
Director Dorsey?
Yes.
Director Stroda?
Yes.
Director Laura Warren Hughes?
Yes.
Director Losi?
Yes.
Director Roussel?
Yes.
Director Van Echo?
Yes.
Director Arts?
Yes.
Director Green's not here. Director Reader?
Yes.
Director Satter?
Yes.
Director Duong's a yes. Director Laney?
Yes.
Director Rupchus?
Yes, and President Green is back on the call.
Great. Director Green?
Director Green is a yes.
All right, Director Green. Director Fleming? And sorry, Director Grossman, I missed you.
Yes.
Director Fleming, are you still here with us? I see you. Maybe you're on mute. We're going to do a no, not voting for Director Fleming. We have 28 yeses, 0 no's, 0 abstain, 2 not voting. Director Green, would you like to take over?
Yes, thank you, Director Duong. I appreciate that. I had a little hiccup in my connectivity there. Director Fleming and Director Cassette, were those the two not voting? Is that correct?
Director Cox actually had to jump off. He did say yes in the chat, but
Okay.
Director
Okay.
Ruff just corrected point of order.
Okay, thank you. All right.
Director Fleming is back. She raised her hand.
Director Fleming.
Is it too late to vote yes?
No, we'll take your vote.
Thank you.
So that's 29 yes and 1 not voting. Is that correct?
Yes, that's correct. 29001.
Okay. We're have some few technological issues here. It's great having technologies to have these things happen, but sometimes we're also at the mercy of that happening. All right. Next up, we are going to have a presentation, informational presentation from. Did you have
Joni
something?
has her hand up.
Oh, yeah, and I apologize if it's out of order, but before, as the hour is growing late and as we may lose some members, I just wanted to take a minute for us to express our gratitude to the staff who are on the call. And so maybe
Joni, you're on mute.
I apologize. If I just wanted to be sure we express our gratitude to the staff for contributing to our call, and was wondering if you might take a minute to acknowledge them. And because I can see from the presenters, I don't think our audience at home can see which are the staff or have joined us for the evening.
Absolutely. Thank you, Director Maritai Rao, for pointing that out and reminding me. Yes, our association manager, Lori Reynolds, is with us. Actually came back today from her scheduled vacation, so I appreciate her making that exception to her scheduled vacation to join us. Heidi Vanderloop, our communications and marketing specialist, is here and is the one that we charge with running the live stream. So all of those members that can watch us on YouTube, that is Heidi making that connection for you. And then Matt Krell, our IT specialist, was instrumental in helping get that pathway set up. We worked together with our IT staff to make the connections to our YouTube channel. And so he has been joining us, making sure that we don't run into too many technical issues. So I know it's getting late on the East Coast, so I certainly appreciate our staff members staying here to support us through this effort. I am going to, we're going to move to our final item on our agenda today, and that is the proposal for redistricting from our Government Modernization Task Force. And I just want to remind the directors, the executive committee voted 5-0 unanimously to move this forward today as an informational presentation, that there is not discussion. They're not going to have questions and answers or discussion or debate on this. The executive committee has asked me as president to issue a separate meeting call. We decided to put that in conjunction with the mid-year meeting that the board does, which is an informational session, not a business meeting for the mid-year executive committee meetings. But we're also going to piggyback onto that day a special board of directors meeting to take up this proposal for further discussion, debate, and potential voting on that. So as of today, this is informational, and we will have, I'm sure, a lot of discussion amongst the board through our other means, but we will not be conducting business on this item tonight. Director Maritai Rao, is your hand still up from your last discussion, or did you have something before we move on?
Sorry, I'm just technologically
Oh,
challenged.
nope. I just didn't want to skip over you if your hand was up. All right. Travis Cockburn has been the chair for the last couple of years of our Government Modernization Task Force. It is that task force that has created this proposal. And I'm going to turn this time over to Director Cockburn. Floor is yours.
All right, thank you. Are you seeing my screen, just to clarify, Dan?
Yes, I can see your
Okay.
slide presentation.
Okay, that's what I wanted to make sure of. So, and we're still good with it here then, just to make sure. I want to make sure I've got my notes up as I'm looking at this. So as we get to looking at this here today, first thing, I just want to take a moment and sincerely thank the members of our task force for the time, the effort, and the collaboration that brought this together tonight. A special thanks to Doug Thompson for providing the historical perspective, his willingness to dive into spreadsheets and numbers whenever clarity was needed. To Carolyn Perkins-Arney, thanks for your steady support, willingness to research every question that came up, and helping produce the strong, clear presentation materials that we had tonight. Director Biddle, your insight, depth of knowledge has been phenomenal. Director Noble, the tireless work on the map, working to make it fair, equitable, all while juggling with a newborn. I feel as though I've changed a few diapers in all of our conversations. All of that commitment really did not go unnoticed. Director Van Echo, thank you for keeping me sane through the process. I still laugh about the Facebook reel daily and consistently bringing that positive voice to the table when it mattered most. And to former President Jodlowski, Director Smith, current President Green, for always being willing to serve as sounding boards as we engage thoughtfully with every question that came your way. It was really a team effort to get the proposal that was out. The quote that's in front of you here today, this came from the Dairy Goat Journal in 1966, the last time that redistricting occurred in ADGA. I'll let you all read that so that I don't cuss on here. But good intentions carried out strengthens one's morals. Every good intention ignored without a fair trial weakens one's moral fiber. As we look the journey to our current situation, how did we get here? Where are we at? Section 5 of the ADGA Constitution requires that directorial districts be created to facilitate a equitable representation across all sections of the U.S. Over time, membership growth has been uneven, and district boundaries have not been updated since 1966. We're all aware of the fact that it's resulted in growing imbalance, that equal representation, it's a basic principle of fair governance. It's the same reason that the United States House of Representatives, it redraws its districts every 10 years. Populations change, districts become uneven. Without adjustment, some representatives end up speaking for more people than others. Redistricting, it isn't necessarily about politics of an organization. It's about keeping representation fair. And as we've gone through this process, the same issue exists here today. I will tell you that as a director, I've had more conversations on this proposal than any other proposal that's been before me in 3 years as a director. Today, I got an email from one of the members in District 4. That member told me today that your single vote tonight carries half the weight of the same vote by a director in 3 other districts, meaning that members in different districts don't have the same representation under the current structure. Redistricting, as we look at it, is simply a way to fix the imbalance. It's the first step towards making sure that every member within ADGA has the same voice that carries the same weight regardless of where they live. If we do nothing, it allows the inequality that's there to continue. Taking action, it restores that fairness and confidence in our governance. This is in the Constitution. We're not making any proposal to change anything in the Constitution. If we consider that, it would require a full constitutional amendment. Definitely not opposed to that. And I think that the vast majority of our government modernization task force would be more than happy to be a part of that discussion. But where we stand today is looking at the inequity that exists in the fair and equitable distribution. I have done so much research on governance and modernization and reading on setting up, restructuring that I sometimes am dreaming about it now. I have a slide here that I won't read through every one of these, but one of the things that we do have is a fiduciary duty to act in good faith and with due care when governance structure is required. Representation and voting structure issues are raised. Inaction can carry legal consequences. Redistricting decisions, they require documented governance process. That's the reason we're having this meeting tonight, so that you can understand how we came to the proposal that's in front of the organization as a whole. Fair and equitable representation, it's a core governance responsibility that as we look at it, it's something that we owe to the membership. If you look at current representation and the imbalance that is here, the quote that came to mind is, "Comfort is not a test of correctness." Our representation today ranges from as low as 199 members per director to as high as 605 members per director. That means member voting power, it varies by nearly threefold depending on the geography in which a person lives. It's not consistent from one director or from one district to another. We see that the percentages range from 4.3 to 22.3% across the board. We had a little bit of fun with this as a committee, and we wanted to look and see if we took a look to get representation as it would be without changing the districts. If we left everything as they were with districts 1 through 8, in order to get to 200 members per director, you can take a look at the screen here, we would require 68 directors in order to get a fair and equitable balance of 200 members. It's not feasible. Our Constitution doesn't allow for it. The maximum that we can have is 40. There's a whole number of things that we can go through, but I just wanted to show you where it would be if we went and kept things exactly as they are today with the number of districts without redistricting. Now, the objective. I've been with this task force now for 2 years and was on Constitution bylaws before as we started looking at some of these things. But the objective that came last year when we started with it was President Jodlowski at the time and has continued on with President Green, was to look at equal weighting across districts. The goal with 8 districts would be 12.5% roughly of total membership per district, with a variance of 1 to 1.5 percentage point. The goal was to balance first and then to ensure that geography was there. The proposal that we set forward that y'all have seen, that you've gone through, you've hashed out, gone through multiple times, gets us from 11.7 to 13% difference that is there. There's been much discussion about the legal authority of where did this come from. The 2025 Executive Committee last year, this was submitted to them. They provided to the association manager. It was requested a legal review of our attorney, Jonathan Mulness, the senior attorney at Dykem. Association manager provided those findings back to the president on 10/1 of 25. His determination at the time was that redistricting is the way that it was proposed was legally permissible. In addition to that, we want to confirm, I know there's been conversation as to the data integrity. How did we come up with the numbers that we came up with? This started in February of last year. We received from our association manager a list of eligible members to vote by state on February 11th. That was the numbers that we worked with. We updated those numbers on October 29th on the same data specs that was provided on that February 11th. We saw similar trends across the board. And it did come up that for the first time this year in 5 years, our membership numbers were available in the membership directory. Well, they don't match exactly the data set from a percentage standpoint held true. So as we looked at 3 different data sets, we found that we saw consistency across the line in this proposal as we brought it forward when it came to redistricting with the map that we provided. I will tell you that last year, this proposal, as it was with the only change being in this of the Emeriti, and we can talk through it on the board list as we go, it was submitted Constitution and bylaws on September the 10th of 2025. It was reviewed as to form, which is what the Constitution and bylaws calls for. I can point it that it says to approve to form for proposed amendments to the Constitution and upon request, review as to form all proposed amendments and additions of the bylaw. We did request of that. The final proposal that went to our attorney included a few changes that were requested by Constitution and bylaws last year. They confirmed those things as they went through last year. Now, there were some adjustments after feedback. So following the board member, there was discussion, there was member feedback. We looked at social media. We looked at what was out there from requests at the membership meeting. And we wanted to ensure that we were able to provide a solid map that made sense, but also really preserved the balance that was desired. The other thing that was requested was additional emeriti language to be included. The task force proposed map, it's all over the internet. People have spoken about it. It maybe doesn't look as disjointed as the proposal that was at convention, making a few changes to that. We were able to bring that together here. The clarification, it's in your proposal on Director Emeriti for clarification limitations. We felt that that there was some changes that could be made. The final proposal here, it does grant lifetime honorary status of Director Emeriti language that is there. It does set up that there can only be 2 actively participate at a time. When one is appointed, it's for a 5-year term, and the board can reappoint for another 5-year term. A lot of conversation went through this. More than happy to discuss it through the board, but there was a rationale that was there, and that these changes, they preserve that institutional knowledge while ensuring clarity, balance, and fiscal responsibility that came with it. So that is included in the proposal. You all have had a chance to see that. I've seen all of the discussion that's out there today that's going on, and I have read our Constitution and our bylaws no less than, I think, 700 times in the last 2 years, and going through these. And not that it really matters, but really what this boils down to is language that is in our Constitution that has been there for a really long time. And what can we do and what can't we do? And it is the question of must versus shall, and why the words really matter. Just so y'all know, must, it's a word of obligation, creates a mandatory enforceable duty. Shall expresses intent or expectation and allows interpretation depending on context. These aren't Travis's words. This just came from Webster's dictionary. ADGA applications, we'll talk through this. When a director moves district, the Constitution uses the word must. Requirements enforced immediately. Shall doesn't apply. When must is used, discretion ends, is the thing. There's been much discussion on, can we have a transition plan? Can we not have a transition plan? Why would we do it one way? Why would we do it another? This is the crux of the matter. As we take a look here, our Constitution in Article 5, Section 9B, page 12, it says that a director must be domiciled in the district he or she is elected to represent. If we look at this, when district boundaries change, domicile changes, it requires new elections to remain constitutionally compliant. It is this one section here in Article 5, Section 9, subsection B on page 12 that says a director must be domiciled in the district that he or she is elected to represent. Now, I've heard much debate on this portion here that a 3-year term discussion is mandatory. Constitution, Article 5, Section 7 on page 12 also says directors shall be elected for 3-year terms, and each district shall at least elect at least one director each year, no more than 2. When we look at this word, it does say shall, and as we said, sometimes words do have a meaning. As this task force has gone through this and have spent countless hours talking through these, with the word shall, exceptions occur. A couple of years ago, Director Reeder, who was on this, he brought to the forefront, he says, I was elected and was not granted a 3-year term. He filled an unexpired term, but the shall be elected for a 3-year term did not apply from a constitutional standpoint. If a director moves districts, they do not get to serve a 3-year term. We have an example of that now. That one director left District 1, moved to District 3. While they were elected to a 3-year term, they were not allowed to serve that 3-year term. So the word shall would express the intent or expectation, and that was the understanding that we had as we came through this. I think it's important that we look at historical perspective from a redistricting and a turnover standpoint. When we look at governance, the model that exists is the United States House of Representatives. The entire House, 435 members, stands for election every 2 years. Telling you things you already know, 90% of incumbents win re-election, 10% turnover. And congressional redistricting in states, it occurs every 10 years. Every year following the census, it happens. District boundaries routinely change. Sometimes they change significantly. Incumbents are often placed in new districts or have to run against other incumbents. New elections require new boundaries require new reflections. Courts consistently have upheld redistricting as necessary to maintain equal representation. It's a level of change that's normal and it's healthy. Modest turnover is expected, but redistricting is what prioritizes that voter equality over incumbent protection. When you look at what we've done with the proposal that's in front of you, is it what everyone wants? No, it's the only path that we can find as a task force to bring us in line with the Constitution, to provide the equal vote, and to ensure that long-term governance of health that is required. As you look at this and you think about this, what it came down to us as a task force is the decision that stands before us when we vote on it, as we discuss it, as we go through it. Article 5, Section 5 says equal representation for the members. It's long been violated. You're going to decide through this process is, do we look to provide that equal representation for our members? And the only thing that has been a concern for others is that 3-year term that has occasionally been adjusted up until this point in time. We're going to have to choose a priority here. To work with the Constitution and the bylaws as we have it, it's the only way that we see forward. You have the full proposal in front of you. Page 12, page 11, page 12 gives you all of the scenarios that you need here. But those are the pieces of the puzzle that have brought us to the place and position that we're at today with the proposal as it's being presented to the board. Again, my thanks to this entire committee, to Sandy, to Jackson, to Todd Biddle, to Doug, to Carolyn, to Laura Warren Hughes, to Sean Reeder, to Ben Rupp, just to every single person that's put in the time to get us to this point. It is what has brought us to the presentation as it would need to be here today. So, Director Green, with that, I will turn it back over to you. I will stop sharing.
All right. Thank you, Director Cockburn. Am I frozen again? Now I can see you guys moving. I'm good. Thought I was frozen again. Thank you, Director Cockburn. Appreciate the thorough presentation, justification for the proposal. The proposal, as you guys know, has been both emailed out to the directors. It's on the director portal. The full proposal is also in the member protected, password protected portion of the ADGA website. Members are welcome to and encouraged to log in, download it, hash it over, talk to your directors about it. It is a proposal that is going to come back before this board on January 24th. So there is, like I said, no discussion this evening on this proposal. We just wanted to get the justification for the proposal out in front of the directors, also for the membership that is logged in. We've been viewing numbers kind of throughout the night on the YouTube channel. There's been as high as almost 160 people, but routinely between 120 and 150 people following this meeting, which I would estimate is probably 5 times or better what we normally have in our meetings at the annual meetings. So it is fantastic to see that much interest amongst our members. That is the end of our agenda. The chair would entertain a motion to adjourn. Director Duong, did you have that motion?
Yes, before motion to adjourn, I want to thank Director Dan Green, President Director Dan Green for all the efforts that you put to actually get this available for the membership. I know there was a lot of hours that you put into it with the staff. And then obviously, you know, the rest of the EC jumped on to help out where we can, but you definitely set that effort. So we really appreciate it. I'm pretty sure the membership appreciates being able to see this. As you said, I just got a number from Heidi. Heidi said 180 was the max viewing number at one point. So that's pretty impressive. But other than that, yeah, I motion to adjourn this meeting so that our East Coast people could go to sleep. Oh, I think Jackson has his hand up here. And somebody else maybe.
Director Noble has a second. Was that what that was? The motion has been, it's been moved and seconded to adjourn. I will accept a voice vote if everybody would take their microphones off of mute. Everybody unmute, please. I see lots of mute still. Just waiting for everybody to be unmuted. All right, looks like everybody's unmuted. All in favor of adjourning?
Director Fleming.
Director Fleming.
Director Fleming, did you have something?
Director Fleming, did you have something?
She's still muted.
She's still muted.
Oh, I missed her.
Oh, I missed her.
Just have a roll call.
Just have a roll call.
Well, I could do a roll call vote then. Motion to adjourn. Roll call vote.
Roll call vote.
Hold on here.
Hold on here. Mute all.
Sorry, I had to get rid of the echo. So please unmute yourself
Please unmute yourself
as I call.
as I call.
Director Cassette.
Director Cassette.
Yes.
Director Cox, not here. Director Biddle.
Yes.
Director Fleming. Can't hear. Director Schneider.
Yes.
Yes.
Oh, there's Director Fleming was a yes also. Director Schneider was a yes. Director Bailey.
Yes.
Director Grossman.
He's not here. He's
Okay,
not here. He left.
Director Hitch.
Yes.
Director Noble.
Yes.
Director Owen.
Yes.
Director Smith.
Yes. Director Smith.
Yes.
Director Blosser.
Director Bloss.
Yes.
Director Cockburn.
Yes.
Director Jodlowski.
Yes.
Director Mathis.
Yes.
Director Schnipke.
Yes.
Director Thompson Hadjick.
Yes.
Director Dorsey.
Yes.
Director Stroda.
Yes.
Director Warren Hughes.
Yes.
Director Losi.
Yes.
Director Rossell.
Yes.
Director Van Echo. Director Van Echo.
Wait. Yes.
Director Arts.
Yes.
Director Green is a yes. Director Reeder.
Yes.
Director Satter.
Yes.
Director Duong.
Yes.
Director Laney.
Yes.
Director Upchus.
Yes.
All right. We have 27 yeses, 3 not voting. Motion passes unanimously.
No.
What? No.
28 yeses.
Oh, who did I miss? Oh,
Did you
Director Fleming got on later. Thank you. 28 yeses, 2 not voting. Thank you for the correction. Motion passes unanimously. Our meeting is adjourned. Thank you all very much for staying with us. I know it's getting late on the East Coast. Everybody have a wonderful evening.
Thank you, everybody.